You are listening to the Taps and Teas Show, weekly conversations for people passionate about marketing, golf, and craft beer. Marty is the co-founder of Bad Rhino, an award-winning digital marketing agency helping golf and craft beer brands get real results in social media marketing. Here is your host, Marty McDonald.
Hello, everybody. This is Marty McDonald. Welcome to Taps and Teas podcast. Today, we're going to talk about community, and community means a lot of different things when you just throw it out there like that. And in social media, you might hear the term building your online community. And I want to talk about craft beer and building community, and a little bit about golf and building community. And let's kick it off with defining what community is on social media. So with social media, your community is your fans. You might hear the people that are looking at your status updates, that like your page on Facebook, follow you on Instagram, Twitter, etc. More than likely, they're the ones that engage a little bit. So they're not only liking, but they might comment, and they've actually been in your business. So you want to do a couple of things with the online community. You want to move them into coming into your tap room or your brewery, or go play your golf course, or come into your insurance agency, whatever your business might be. But within the community, and why here at Bad Rhino, and I really enjoy social media marketing more than anything else, is you are pulling people together. And I think two great industries and products and services that bring people together are beer and golf. And I think that's one of the main reasons we love working in those, because the social media part works really well going into that, because people have a community aspect to it. They want to hang out with people. They want to try new beers. They want to play different golf courses, or if they're playing the same course, they want to interact with the people that are there that they might get paired up with. And social media can help bridge that gap. Today, I want to talk about community building in craft beer a little bit more in depth, and so many things that are out there that you can leverage your marketing into on craft beer through social media, through community initiatives. So in this aspect, I'm talking about community, like where the town you live in, the city you live in, the 5-block radius you live in, whatever that community is defined by, and how you should treat it, but also talk about some of the great stuff that going on across the U.S. within craft beer. You know, I'm not going to mention breweries by names here, but I'm going to go down a couple of examples and how you can tie that into your social media campaign. So let's take a look at this, the charity initiatives, right? That's really easy. And you see that a lot with craft beer. You see them pair up with one or two local charities, sometimes on a bigger scale, and really push those things out. But they'll have, $1 per pint go somewhere. You might have certain events that are just specifically for that charity. You might sell T-shirts, so many different ways that you can do just straight up donations. Everybody that's a designated driver that's coming to a beer festival, $1 is donated to this charity. There's so many different ideas. We could talk for hours on there. But how you tie that into, your marketing plans is not to brag, like, oh yeah, we give back to the community. We donated $500,000 type stuff. Not really about that. I mean, that's a little bit about it, and brag's not the right term. You do want to promote it, but you do it in the right way. You partner with them. You partner with that charity, and you trade off and say, hey, we're going to post this about you guys. We don't need you to do a ton of posting, but we would like you to introduce your community to our community, and it makes a better conversation and makes a better event. So that's just one idea there of just partnering with somebody else in the community to do a charity initiative. I think one of the greatest things I read, and I don't remember which brewer it was, but they were doing labels. So you could design a label that was for charity, or I think there was one where you had signed labels that were then printed off and, framed and things like that. Some really cool artwork, and then auctioned off. And it was just helping the artists and helping the community that way, and just promoting art in the community. And I think a lot of those things are really cool, because you then are creating content that you can use in your social media marketing. You're also creating content that you can use further down the road of event marketing that you've done. So building that community with charities is awesome. I think those are really fun ways to do. You can do things with different 6-packs if you're canning, or 4-packs, whatever it might be. A certain beer release might be just dedicated to a certain charity. And I think a lot of this stuff in the beer community, in the craft beer community, is talked about. But I think outside of it, from a marketing perspective, people can do more with this because I really think it promotes what you're doing in their neighborhood. You're not only providing jobs, you're providing a place where people can communicate and hang out and talk about local things, which is really interesting. I like a lot of the tap rooms that are out there in their community building efforts with having conversations in the tap room, not having TVs all the time, not having super loud music, but encouraging people to actually, wow, holy shit, actually interact with each other and be people. It goes a long way. It goes a long way when you have that interaction within the community. It makes that community better. And a lot of times where I've seen craft breweries, especially over the past, I would say like 10 years, they start in places that maybe aren't so nice. And you watch the area around it kind of change. And that's been really fun to watch. So all these things that I'm talking about today are just community builders. But you also, not to beat a dead horse here, but this is about marketing. You want to tie it into who you are in your marketing and find that voice online. If it's something that you're only going to do local charities, I think is awesome. If you want to reach out and go bigger and get better brand name, you can work together and do it all for good of community, which I think is just a great way to actually build goodwill in the community and get your name out there in a different way, not just, hey, we have the best IPA and we also are doing these can releases all the time. Tie it to something a little bit bigger and it makes it more fun. I love reading the articles and seeing the things out there that these people are amazed that, oh, it's beer. It's beer that's bringing people together and they're doing great things in the communities. Bike rides, things like that, where you're just really putting things on there where maybe it's a challenge, that you're going to have all your brewers go and actually, ride a long distance and have some fun with it. You can put that in there. But all that, when you focus in on that, not that you're going to use it to marketing and hopefully you're getting all these new people to come in just because you donate to charity and using it just to sell more beer. That's not the purpose, but really creating that goodwill. And that builds community, both people walking into that tap room, but also more people are often likely to take a look at your product or service, no matter what the business is. If you're promoting something that's good for the community, they're more than likely to not just pass over it. They're going to at least take a couple seconds and go, wow, I didn't even know this place existed.
Hey, if you're enjoying what you're hearing on the show and want more, head on over to tapsandteas.info and get our free report with game-changing tips and strategies straight to your inbox. Just enter your info and stop being stuck with no marketing plan.
So now you're reaching more of a casual beer drinker or somebody that's just interested in different industries. And I think that makes it a lot of fun when you incorporate these things to think of how can we get our name out there and how can we focus in on the betterment of our communities. Another idea that I saw, obviously beer collaboration. Let's not forget about that. That's always out there where you can partner up with 2 or 3 different breweries and start to get some collaboration going on, and you can promote all the communities and then the charities as well. And now you're cross-promoting with that and doing good in both communities. Rare beers auctioned off. You can do all your, item collections, whether it's food drives and clothing collections, all sorts of stuff. If there's, God forbid, there's a tragedy in the community, a lot of people rally around, and there's no place better to do it in a tap room and hanging out that way, at least when you want to have a couple beers. So when you're bringing people together, it's important that that common theme goes through. You don't want to have somebody that, you're just focusing in on one charity all the time. It's the same difference of just you wouldn't post about one type of beer or one type of event. You want to mix it in, and it should be part of an overall strategy in what you do. It not only builds goodwill, like we said, but it gives a different flavor to what you're all about, not just can releases, not just different beer drinking events, different events that are going on to get your beer recognized. You're not just constantly pushing those things. And I think the community, when you're building that outside, real person-to-person things, and then online, you have to spend a little bit of time thinking about how you're going to do it. You can also offer your tap room to nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits don't have room to host like a training or a party or a fundraiser, and they rely on large donated spaces. So you can donate your space, even if it's smaller, and say, hey, this is what we can do. We offer you this room for X amount of hours. You're not going to give away beer, but if you can afford it, that's a great way to do it. But they're not looking to drink there. They're also might want to give you something back in terms of doing that. Working with those and partnering with them, again, not only creates that goodwill, but you can expose your beer and your location to more people that may not have normally gone in there. So that's really cool when you can just donate your space to things like that. Percentage of profits, that's really easy. I really think it's important for any business, but especially breweries, to give back and build that community. And the same thing goes, with golf courses and golf products. It's a community-based, it's a person-to-person type sport, even though in golf you're sitting there in your own head for the majority of the time, but you're also, you want to have the social aspect of it. And you want to use that in your marketing about what the conversations are when people are on the golf course. You don't want to talk about specials and come out here all the time. Just come play our course, this, that, the other thing. We got specials going on. We got this going on. It gets boring. People want to talk about what's going on in the golf world, but also how it impacts your course. Come out on Sunday. If you come out on Sunday before the PGA tees off, is this rate? But you're incorporating things that are going on and not just repeat that post on autopilot. Talk about, hey, Tiger Woods is coming back. If you play before his tee time, it's $17. Not that you're going to only charge $17, but you start to just throw out different things. It's $14 because of his majors. But you're tying it into current events, which does a lot of things. It starts to build that community, what's on top of golfers' minds. But also, you can catch current trends if those things are trending. Rory McIlroy is in the lead. You come up with something there. Jordan Spieth is winning. But when you use those keywords, you get sucked into other conversations, and it's more community building. Even though you might reach people outside your community, that reach is super important. We talked about not having organic reach, or we will be talking about that. It's a big deal, but every little bit counts. And when you treat the community about things that are going on in real time, you can really do a lot of good. And the same thing applies with the golf and giving back and the community building thing. Too often, it looks like it's kind of standoffish in some golf courses, not all of them. I'm not trying to paint it with a broad brush, but people don't know that something exists where it's affordable for them to come. Not everything's going to be affordable for everybody. Let's not be silly about it. But at the same time, you want to promote an open atmosphere, to grow the game. That's what you hear in golf is how do we grow the game? Well, jump in the community in conversations online, and you'll be amazed how some of that stuff translates to people coming through your doors versus the course that might be 10 minutes from their home. They might drive an extra 15 minutes to check your course out, or 20 minutes or an hour even. People will do that. Golfers are nuts, just like beer drinkers. That's why it kind of goes hand in hand. But it's always good to promote what you're doing in your community to your online community. And it makes it for a natural flow of things in your marketing. And it doesn't seem forced, especially when you're passionate about it, but more people will resonate more if it's in their backyard. That's not saying like the bigger national charities aren't important, but people will resonate with something that's local in their backyard for a school or for something else that's going on that they know. Hey, we know this brewery, we know this golf course, and we know the school over there. So there's a lot of things that you can do to do that in order to build and keep those communities growing. And the last thing I'll say on that is when you're doing those things in your marketing, just like I said, that you don't want to beat a dead horse with just selling things or just talking about beer releases or specials at the golf course. You also don't want to beat people over the head with constant, we give back all the time, we do this. So if I had to do it and sketch it out really quickly in 1 minute here or less, what I would do is in a marketing plan, you want to find out what charities that you're going to support. Make something that's permanent. So $1 for every can that you sell of X, that goes to this charity. And that's something that you can promote all the time in the tap room, on social media. That's just known. This IPA, $1 per draft, $1 per can. Everything that we sell goes to this charity. So that's your consistent one. Then you have certain quarterly events that you really want to promote. And if you're going to do something very regularly, it's okay if you do it once a month. What people don't want to see is a daily promotion of it, more or less. But if you're doing a lot of things, put them in events in there and talk about them. And the same with the golf course is pick something that you're going to give back in to help the community and grow it in real life, so to speak. And then something that you can do online to get people and expose your product or your golf course or your golf product to new people. So those are just highlights of how a community is. And I think there's so much more room just in the world where you can leverage social media to be positive in your marketing and also help your online and your offline community. So till next time, we'll talk to you soon, and hope you help out your charities and your communities right away. See you on the next episode of Taps and Tees.
This is the podcastfactory.com.